Clean on my phone screen. There we are. Okay. Yeah, I'm just gonna get a bit further away so I can be inside the screen properly. Okay, let's see who we have in the chat. Expose yourselves and where you're from, or any other information of interest that we should know about you. Oh, so yeah, that setup didn't work so well. Wait a second. Maybe like this it will work. See, I don't have a professional stand because it broke. So yeah, hopefully that will work okay. I think it's sitting in okay like that, right? Hello, Anna, how are you? I'm great. I'm really good. Working on videos, working on book, bunch of things. So yeah, Greenland. Seriously? Greenland? By the way, what is this King 1? Oh, community leaderboard. 25 XP. Okay, that's interesting. Hello, we have Wandering Nomad as well. So that's nice. Yeah. Well, which of you guys did you see my video that I put out, and what did you think about it? I knew that it would provoke a lot of discussion and reaction of people claiming. I sent you the drawing on Instagram, Purple Cats. Thanks. I know. The video would draw kind of reactions and stuff. Some people say no, you're wrong, and all that kind of thing. That's kind of to be expected. Let's try to centralize this a little bit more to look nicer. There we go. This can go here. Get ourselves a nice professional background. Stop being such an amateur in these live streams. How do you think about the brave Yemeni people? I don't know. Depends how you describe brave. But yeah, I don't know. Brave, or depends who you're talking about. Of course, I love the Yemenis like everybody. Got nothing against them. So yeah, all right, guys, let's hash it out. Tell me if you saw the video, what you think about it, and why I am right or wrong. And let's go. Let's do this. Maybe I should have done this video where someone can actually join the stream. I'm seeing now how to do that option on Insta. I've never done it before. I should probably do it in my next live stream. Maybe we'll do another live stream tomorrow and do that, where people can actually get in on the live stream and see it. But yeah. Do you think to re-immigrate? Re-immigrate where exactly? Are you one of those people? When are you coming to Greenland? Yeah, well, I hope I make it there. Looks pretty cool, great nature, interesting people, like Inuit people. I mean, I hear it's pretty expensive though to stay there, right? Like, you want to get from place to place, you have to take this expensive transport. There aren't exactly buses, like proper easy to use buses or trains in Greenland, huh? So yeah, re-immigrate to your own country. Yeah, sure. These people never learn, you know? Live in the fantasy that all the people in Israel will just leave and go somewhere. What can I say? You know, hopefully people at some point will wake up and accept Israel and the people of Israel and try to live peacefully next to Israel instead of going on with this crap. But what can you do? It is what it is, you know? Yeah, it's a stupid question, but it happens all the time because, you know, they don't view the Jews as an actual nation of people deserving of self-determination the same way Arabs and Muslims deserve it. Jews can live as minorities dispersed around the globe from now until eternity. They can beg the Muslims to live under them and be protected as they used to be. And then say thank you when they don't get massacred, or when they don't get slapped when they have to pay the jizya tax of the dhimmi. That's what they want to go back to, right? But you know, we're not gonna go back to that. And the more they hold on to that fantasy, the more we're all gonna suffer. But they'll suffer more because they lose the wars against us, which is also a problem because they get humiliated in the wars and then they get upset and then they have to blame someone other than themselves, right? They have to blame colonialism, Zionism, the international community, you know, have to blame the US. Israel would never win without the US, all the wars, even though Israel won all its early wars without the US, right? Even though the Arab countries like Syria and Egypt had the Soviet Union arming them to the teeth. But, you know, it's like, oh, no. The only reason Israel wins is because of the foreign powers and poor us and all that crap. What can I say? Hopefully one day they'll change and then we can start to talk about peace. But otherwise, it's just, it's going to be difficult. Very, very difficult. The Iranian foreign minister told you to come to Greenland? Really? When did he say that? That's funny. That would be like a typical point to be made in the current climate by the Israel haters. It's like, you can go to Greenland. Why don't you go to Greenland? Why don't you go to Uganda? Why don't you go anywhere else but where you are right now? What can I say? Purple cats. Yeah, they got humiliated. Very true. I mean, I don't like that kind of talk because, you know, I don't want to sow division, and it's just like people in Israel, we don't take pride in wars. Unlike what they think. We don't take pride in wars. We don't care that much about, winning a war as a display of strength. It's just something necessary that we have to do to survive in this neighborhood. They're the ones who feel the humiliation from losing to Israel all the time, you know? Hi, brother. How are you? I'm good. How are you? Hello, Mr. N. Can you explain Likud coalition news a bit? What coalition news? Something's always happening. Yeah, I mean, look, this is just about the ultra-Orthodox in the Israeli right-wing government, that there's a demand for those ultra-Orthodox to be conscripted into the military like the rest of the population. And, you know, he's got a problem there to hold the coalition, does Netanyahu. But some people in his coalition are demanding that, but the ultra-Orthodox don't want to do that. So how does he keep it all together? This is the usual story of Israeli politics, political survival. It's constantly at play in the background. What's your opinion of Saluki? Have you ever met him? That question comes up literally every live stream. I mean, that guy comes up every live stream. My last live stream, he actually joined my live stream, like in the chat, and started writing Free Palestine in Arabic, which was just hilarious. But yeah, and I've met him I actually hanged out with him a couple of times, and he's a pretty cool guy. I like him. I don't agree at all with his opinions, but as a person, I like him. Yeah. Is this back when Trump talking about kicking out Palestinians? Oh, okay. When he's talking about Greenland. Yeah. Was he joking about it? I don't know. I don't know if he was joking about it because, you know, if you look what he's been doing recently, then yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's joking. I need to get together with him and see what's up with the guy, but he's in Ramallah all the time, so it's a bit hard to reach. Someone says something about Greta. What do you think about Greta Thunberg? You know, delusional. She's like the college kids, only she never went to college. I believe Palestine and Israel both live together, no more wars, says King of Judgesi. I'm sorry, says Hopeful Dawn. Yeah, I mean, that'd be good. I'm for that, if possible. I'm always for that. Sounds like a pretty good idea, huh? End all wars. Okay, someone asked, is Israel a secular state? I think it's more secular than religious state, you know. We have a separation of religion and state in most issues, but not all issues. We have religious pluralism here, meaning we have other religions in Israel besides Judaism. But there are things like, for example, the marriage. You have to get married through the rabbi, like the national rabbinate, like the national rabbi. You should have made this collaborative live so people may actually debate you. Oh, look, that just when we were talking about Mr. Saluki, he shows up in my live. Shouldn't you be doing your own lives? What's going on? You're always crashing my lives. But yeah, I mean, maybe we could turn this one off and then. Oh, I got. we could potentially turn off this live and then return it on and have people debate, you know? I just put that title in the last second about debate me. I was just gonna write something about talking about whatever, my latest video that I wrote, let's debate, you know? I'm not a big fan of these gotcha moments debates that people are doing. Like it's the content, a lot of the content people are doing on YouTube, right? They go on Omegle, they go on that program where they link up with people from other places around the world, and then like these Israelis and Palestinians debate each other, and then they upload it to YouTube. You guys probably seen a bit of that. So like I'm not that big a fan of the gotcha debate online thing, you know. But discussion, I like discussion. Discussion's good, you know. So yeah, maybe we should do that. Maybe, well, let's see how many people we get in the live stream. And if we get people here who want to go live on the live stream and debate, we can shut off this live stream and start a new live stream with the debating option, right? Which is the ability to join a live. Yeah, it's grifting, says so. Like, yeah, well, I don't know, whatever. I mean, it's call it whatever you want. It's not what I want to do. I've actually never done a live debate on my live stream, right? And I kind of, a lot of the time I have a subject for my live stream and then it just becomes endless questions about Israel-Palestine every single time. Like I try, like now I put a thumbnail of Lebanon talking about a video that has a thumbnail of Iraq, and it just straight away questions about Israel. So it doesn't work, you know? That's the only thing people want to talk about, unfortunately. And that's kind of the point I was making in that video, right? The video about the tribalism, because I don't know, I feel like there are, you know, the point I made in that video, and I don't know, I did a live and had less than 100 people, bro, sad, okay. So what I'm saying, I did that video, right, about the tribalism, sectarian, and religious conflict in the Middle East, and ethnic violence in the Middle East. And yeah, and you know, some people said, oh, that's cool and all that. And a lot of people said that I'm stupid and it's all about colonialism and foreign influence and the US and Israel, which is kind of the response I expected. And kind of one of the things that I wanted to talk about in this video, if people want to debate on this subject, and it doesn't have to be Israel-Palestine, and I actually prefer it not to be about Israel-Palestine, because I feel like one of the problems, thank you Anna Unknown for your contribution, thank you very much. I feel like one of the problems with people who are debating in the Israeli-Palestinian craziness is that they're so like laser view on this issue that they don't see anything else. And they're not able to like contextualize it amid other things that are going on in the world. They're not able to compare it to other conflicts. They're not able to see things in this conflict that are maybe similar or dissimilar to other conflicts. It just kind of, it's like a black hole that just swallows everything. Seriously, it really just swallows everything, the Israeli-Palestinian discourse. And, you know, for me, I take interest in other places and I like to break those down as well. And I also think that it's relevant to understanding Israel-Palestinian thing, you know? It's relevant for understanding the Middle East. So I put up here, for example, a map of Lebanon, which has just as a fractured religious, sectarian, ethnic, tribal divide as does Iraq, which was in the thumbnail of my previous video. And it's relevant, for example, for the Israeli-Palestinian conflict because Hezbollah is a Shia group that sits in southern Lebanon that was firing rockets at Israel for 8 months until Israel put in a big response, which was covered by the international media. That happens, the whole thing with Hezbollah happening in southern Lebanon happens in the context of internal fault lines that I discussed. So Lebanon is divided into 3 main groups. It's got actually a lot of, you can break it up further, the Christian community, the Muslim community, and so forth. But the 3 main groups are Christians, Sunni Muslims, and Shia Muslims. So they divided the country, the positions of power in the country based on these groups, right? So you have the Christian is the president, the Sunni Muslim is prime minister, the Shia Muslim is speaker of parliament. You know, for the ability for a group like Hezbollah to get such a foothold in the southern part of the country and start to subvert the Lebanese state, meaning taking actions without the approval of the Lebanese state, for example, that can only happen in the context of having those rifts exist in the first place. And that's why they're able to get their foothold here, there, to recruit people, to use the forces that they have there to attack Israel and everything. And that's something that's very important for people to understand, whether you support Israel or against Israel, is that there's that rift context that I talked about in the main video, which is affecting every single conflict. If Lebanon didn't have internal divisions of, for example, Christian, Sunni, and Shia, inside Lebanon, the Hezbollah thing probably wouldn't be able to happen, and that would have a very big impact on things that are happening in our region. One example that I would be willing to debate here if somebody wanted to get to the point, but it seems like we're not so much doing that. Wait a second. So let's see what people are saying here. If we go back in the discussion, Raul says you should have used more illustrations and pictures. That takes a lot of work, man. I almost did it with that video. I said I'm going to make videos. I'm not going to use any editing, any illustrations. I'm just going to, I'm just going to riff because it's a lot of work and so forth. And to cover every single word that you're saying with illustrations is very difficult, not to mention the fact that you don't have the copyrights for a lot of these images, so you can get in trouble. Seems like too much work without enough return. In the end of the day, if people connect with the way I deliver things and are interested in the subject, I think they'll watch, What else is going on here? Not everyone has been to the debate. I like Ben Shapiro. Someone says, took a Middle East study. Pretty much everything you said was what we discussed in class. I took a Middle East study class, and pretty much everything you said was what we discussed in class. That's good. Can you tell me where you studied? And what exactly was your, major and everything? Because I'm getting, maybe if in study classes you're still talking about those things intensively, then fine. What I'm seeing is a bunch of professors just talking, the same old playbook of things that are relevant, but, not the only thing. Discourse, interesting word. Yeah, discourse. Okay, what am I missing here? Swedish women are you going to make more videos in Israel? That's funny. Judea and Samaria belong to Israel, someone says. I think it's okay telling Palestine-Israel conflict while talking to other conflict relevant. Your analysis in the video is actually pretty spot on. Ethnic, religious, and sectarianism plays a huge part in Middle East conflict. Thank you. That's exactly what I was saying. But, it's important to know, when I made that video, I literally stated, right, in the beginning of the video, I said, this is not an exact theory. This isn't mathematics. You can't break down anything in this world, at least social stuff, right, political stuff, geopolitical stuff, with a single model. There's no such magic model that can explain everything that happens. But I think this is, probably of all the subject matters that we have, I would say this is the most important one, and a lot of the other things that happen in the context of that, right? And that's something that I was hoping to debate with people here today, because I saw a lot of people mentioning stuff like American intervention and this colonialism, and I'm saying that still all of those things are happening in the context of the rifts. Saluki says, all right, peace out, lads. Can you define the term Middle East? The term was initially developed by the British to describe geography between the Near East and the Far East. Why did the CIA use it to describe Spain to India? I don't know. The Middle East, it's it's an invention, right? I mean, there isn't really a geographic border for the Middle East, like an actual geographical border. So, between Africa and Asia, you can say it's kind of Sinai Peninsula, right? That's like a land squeeze where the land becomes very small. That you can pass through, that really divides the continents. You can say between Europe and Asia, it's the Ural Mountains. That's like a geographic feature, right? I don't think there's really a geographic border for the Middle East. You're right that people say it's an invented term, but it's kind of an accepted term that a lot of people use and that I use, and people know basically what it means, right? It means Saudi Arabia and Iraq, and it means Iran probably on the edge, and Jordan and Israel, Palestinians, Syria. It means these places, and we know it means these places, and that's what I'm talking about. By the way, the things I talked about are very relevant in Africa as well. Also in Africa, you have inside countries these huge ethnic, religious divides that lead to awful stuff. I made a video from Rwanda in East Africa where I talked about the Rwandan genocide, which was one ethnic group, Hutus, massacring another ethnic group, Tutsis. So it didn't just lead to a conflict, it led to a genocide, So I'm saying shit happens when you shove groups together that maybe shouldn't be there. So wait, what else is, what did I miss? What did I miss here? This is, okay, can you talk about the economy of Israel? North Africa to Iran is Middle East, is my opinion. North Africa to Iran is Middle East, in my, okay, yeah, so, you know, that's what I'm saying. A lot of time people use MENA, they use the term MENA. Middle East and North Africa, right? Because the North African countries are also Muslim, have a significant Arab influence. I'm very careful in calling North African countries Arab, right? Because they have a very large, like, Berber, Amazigh population. And when I was in Morocco and I used this term, some people got very offended, even though Morocco is part of the Arab League, right? So, you know, at least officially it's part of the Arab world, but people there don't like it. So I don't know if call it Arab, but let's say, yeah. I mean, a lot of people, they would bunch parts of North Africa and the Middle East together, sort of, yeah? Nazi presenting Nazi perspective, okay. Egypt has an Amazigh community in Siwa. Yeah, I heard about that. I was supposed to go to Siwa when I visited Egypt, but then because I ended up going to Aswan, and in order to get to Siwa, Aswan, right, is in southern Egypt, I had to go all the way back north to Alexandria, and then from there, like, northwest again to Siwa, but it was just too big a haul and I didn't have enough time. Maybe, like, thinking about it, since I kind of had a one shot in Egypt, you know, now that my video from Egypt is all over the place, not just on YouTube, but on social media and stuff. And, you know, there are thousands of comments of people saying that they would have killed me if I did. I don't know if I want to go back to Egypt. So I kind of had a one shot at Egypt. And yeah, maybe I should have done like 2 months in Egypt, put out like 20 videos and then leave after I left, and that's it, you know. I have little to no formal education. I find myself educating myself with journalism. I know you're a vlogger, but I enjoy listening to hear you to listen. Well, you know, that's an interesting thing, because something that I noticed is that the kind of curiosity of I just want to learn for the sake of learning is really gone in most people. People only want to learn about a subject if they can be an activist on the subject. We live in the age of activism. A lot of it is because of social media. So you can show what you're being an activist about, and then you can, like, show that you are a good person fighting the correct fight in this world, which could be, you know, fighting whatever. Yeah, then people, they learn about a subject so they can be an activist on the subject, so they can protest about it and on their campus and show it on their social media or whatever. But learning for the sake of learning, I feel like it's really gone down. I think that's one of the reasons why the whole subject that I presented of the ethnic and religious and so on, you know, ethnic, religious, sectarian divides, why that, you know, topic or theory, or call it whatever you want, doesn't land that well with a lot of people, because it's not a cause that you can get behind as an activist, right? Because what I'm saying, if you look at Lebanon, which I put in the thumbnail of this video, like, I can't say that one group is good and one group is bad. You know, I can't say the Maronites are the goods and the Sunnis are the bad, or the Sunnis are the goods and the Shias are the bad, or the Shias are the goods and the others are the bad. Like, I can't. And each of them has a case. Like, the Maronites were in control economically, and then the Shias felt downtrodden, and then the Hezbollah came in, and then the Shias started oppressing these, and then the Sunnis are the thing, and then the Palestinians came in. Like there's it's very hard to say one group is good and one group are bad. Certain groups are worse than others, yeah, but when I'm talking about specifically, I'm not talking about certain ideologies, right? Some ideologies are better than others and worse than others, for sure. But I'm talking about, if you look at the Middle East and all this kind of sectarian and religious violence and tribal violence in particular, historically, like when I was in the UAE, for example, I was in the UAE and I was reading up about Zayed the Great, you know, the ancestor of the current emir of Abu Dhabi, and looking at all that, they were all doing this tribal warfare. This tribe was fighting this tribe, this guy built a fort here, this guy did an alliance with the British here, this guy was fighting this. Like, what, you really want to tell me one of these tribes was better, more moral than the other? I mean, they were all doing the same thing, you know? So, I mean, I threw out Lebanon as an example, but I'm just saying, if the general point that I'm making is that if you accept this as a major factor in the region, it's a issue that you can't easily throw yourself behind as an activist, right? You can't say I'm tribe this in whatever in this conflict. I'm behind this clan or this hamula or this family. Therefore, I'm the good guy. It's like very hard to do that. But if you say you're against colonialism, then you have something to stand on. If you say you're against American intervention and all the problems of American intervention, and I'm against it, now you're becoming like a moral activist. It's a subject matter it's easier for you to connect with because you can more easily take a position in it and be an activist. That's just something that I kind of noticed, that like there's always this talk about imperialism, colonialism, petrodollar, things like that. And you know, like on the ground, you see a country that's totally divided and where people are constantly fighting each other over things like sectarianism and tribalism and religion forever, you know? But I feel like it's just like a subject matter that it's just not a popular one. It's not a popular one like the ones that are more in the forefront, like the ones that get you on big podcasts, for example, to talk about, I opened the CIA files and look, the America wanted to instigate a coup and no. Like this is the main subject all the time that I'm that's appearing in my feed. Maybe I have the wrong feed, you know? Maybe I have the wrong feed, but I'm saying if I open Joe Rogan, you know, if I open some other podcast, if I open this, I know for sure that's what I'm going to see. I'm not going to see anything about Sunni-Shia rift in Iraq. I'm not going to see it. Okay, but I'm talking about the Maronites. Ziv says the Maronites are not as bad as the Shias. Yeah, but I'm not talking about the Maronites and the Shias in the Israeli context, right? You're saying like, I'm Israeli, and this is what Israel did. Israel backed the Maronites, yeah? You're saying I'm Israeli, and therefore the Maronites are better than the Shias because the Maronites are less hostile to Israel than the Shias. And I would agree, but I'm not talking about this from a Israeli perspective. I'm talking just from a general perspective, like a Lebanese perspective, right? So if you're looking at, for example, the civil war that was happening inside Lebanon, then I can't say, and I don't know enough also to say, these guys were good and these guys were bad. I can say they were all bad. They were all killing each other. The famous massacre, Sabra and Shatila, everybody knows about it. Why? Because Israel was involved. Even though Israel didn't commit the massacre was Christian phalangists, like Christian militias, going in, massacring Muslim Sunni militias, Palestinian descendants of refugees who were there, there was this thing going on with the PLO that was ejected from Jordan and put itself there in Lebanon, and then they ganged up with some of the Sunni Muslims, started fighting the Christians and the Shias, yeah? So the whole civil war thing was popping off, and a bunch of Sunni Muslims massacred a bunch of Christians, and then a bunch of Christians massacred a bunch of Sunni Muslims, and then a bunch of Sunni Muslims again massacred a bunch of Christians, and then the Christians really wanted to massacre these Muslims, these Sunni Muslims, and basically, at least the common accepted narrative at this point is that Israel kind of let them do it and didn't stop them, yeah? That's basically what happened. But nobody knows about that. They only say, Israel, Sabra and Shatila, Israel, because again, nobody wants to talk about ethnic religious rift. They just want to talk about colonialism, American intervention, Israel, you know, Zionism. That's like, those are the subjects that fire people up emotionally and that they can get behind a side. Yeah? I'm not getting behind a side in those things that were happening there. Yeah. I don't know, like when the Christians massacred the Sunni and the Sunni massacred the Christians and the massacred Sunni and the Shia massacred. I can't say that, one side was good and one side was bad. I'm seeing sectarian warfare. That's what I'm seeing that happened over there. And therefore, it's hard for someone who wants to be an activist to shove himself into such scenarios and be like, I'm pro this, pro that. Swedish Girls on Adventure says, you said that the problem is that people view this through an American lens. Exactly. They view it through an American lens. Why? Why do they view everything through an American lens? Because then they can be an activist. You know? if I view the Middle East through the lens that I suggested, which is religious, sectarian, ethnic, and tribal warfare, it's very hard to be an activist. You can't protest on US campus on this thing because there's too many sides going on. But if you see it through the American lens, now you can become an activist. Now you can be a moral person. Now you can take a strong stance. You can be, I'm an American. The problem in the world or in the Middle East is America, American intervention, but I am against American intervention. So I am good, look. And then you post something on Instagram or on Facebook and ta-da, you become an activist and you get to pump your own ego a little bit, you know? So that's what lands. That's what lands. Like if you're talking about the Middle East, what lands is colonialism of, you know, French, British, not Turkish, who were 400 years controlled the area. That's not so popular. We're not talking about that colonialism. We're not talking about Iranian colonialism. We are talking about British, French, Israeli, Zionist, and American colonialism. When we're talking about colonialism, all the other things don't count, by the way, just saying. So we're talking about colonialism, American intervention, Zionism, and this. This is the shit that gets people off and that they wanna talk about, and this will get you invited on big podcasts and make you famous, whatever. I've been seeing like professors and stuff saying the biggest crap I've ever heard, and they have huge audiences because they are exactly pushing on those specific stuff. Like guys like Jeffrey Sachs, for example, who was on Piers Morgan, things like that. Turkey did not expel anyone. Okay. Result Peso. Don't get me started on Turkey. I love the Turkish people, but don't get me started historically on Turkey. Don't get us started on Turkey. Multiple genocides against the Armenians, the Assyrians, the Greeks, killed 2 million people. Don't come and start telling me Turkey has this clean past. Please don't. Why do you think that is? The people view it through their lens of Zionism and American interventionism. Because of what I just said. Because then they can be an activist. By the way, there's the flip side of it, which is like the more traditional. Let's call it the American conservative side, which is to view it through Islam. Yeah, through radical Islam primarily. So damn, why is the community? All this community stuff is coming up here. And it's really throwing me off. I keep seeing it going up and down on my screen here on the phone. But the flip side of it is to see it only through Islamism, yeah? So you have the Middle East, you have Muslims do jihad, and that's what's going on, you know? Like that's another one that people use that's not very accurate, and you can also be an activist for, right? You can be an activist for fighting jihad, you're against jihad, you're against Islamization, you're against Islamic subversion happening in the West and things like that, and you take like solely that lens. That's also one that you can, to be fair, that you can take, that some people who are supporters of Israel, for example, will take as well. So yeah, on that issue also, you can more easily be an activist. You can more easily be an activist. But if it's kind of like going both ways, where it's okay, you have one religion, or one ethnic group, one tribe, one sectarian group, and because they are different, they are destined to fight in a region where that affiliation is crucial, then it's not necessarily going to be one side is better than the other. They're basically the same. They're trying to sustain their own group, and then yeah, they'll take alliances with outside groups based on expediency and things like that. Okay, Muhammad Isam, you've been asking something. Heard of Hezbollah plot 2009, but you also asked something before, which someone says, have you watched I Pet Go Till? I don't know what that is. Someone says South Africa was highly tribal as well, but activism seems to have had an impact. 1 second, guys, just 1 second. Have you ever heard of the Hezbollah plot in Egypt 2009? No, I have not. Why don't you enlighten us? Anthony says, I think what you said in the video was right. People want to pick a side and cultivate a following based on that and really don't want to have meaningful discussions about it because that doesn't sell. That's kind of what I'm saying here, yeah? That's the analysis of why that fails, why that subject matter fails, even though apparently it's still taught in universities, which I'm happy to hear. What do you think about Greta Thunberg boat trip to Gaza? Activist. That's just what I said. Activist, activist, activist alert. Whenever I see an activist, I get a light bulb in my head. Oh no. Oh no. I don't like activists. What do religious Israelis think of feminism? I mean, the ultra-Orthodox community is not a very not very great for women, the ultra-Orthodox community. Wait a second, so what else do we got here? Please dumb down the activist part, I'm lost. Greta, the next Nobel Prize winner for peace? No. Oh, Swedish girl, she's Swedish. Swedish girl, do you claim Greta Thunberg as one of your own, as a Swedish girl on adventure? She's a Swedish girl on adventure in Gaza. Is the ultra-Orthodox relatively more conservative? Of course. They're like a conservative community. The women have more specific roles and the men have specific roles. Actually, the women often, they're taking care of the family and even sometimes working. Like the men, they study Torah, they study Bible, which is fine. Like you can do that, but you have to contribute something to the country. You have to serve in the military like everyone else. You have to pay your taxes. What's up, bros? I got recommended this randomly, so I'm in the dark about all this. All right, well, nothing like joining a random live stream that just popped up in your feed. I'm all for it. But look, I'm a travel vlogger and kind of like a political analyst. I made a video about what I see as the main problem in the Middle East. Got some backlash for it from people who are saying you're wrong, you're stupid, you don't know anything, and I'm here in the live stream claiming that I do, and you can argue with me. So that's what's going on. But, the discussion derailing into other subjects, primarily Israel, because I'm in Israel right now. So you can ask me anything. But you will debate whom? Well, I'm debating people in the comment section, which I understand is not a real debate, right? Because nobody in the comment section can compete with me. I have the screen. But I just wrote that, come debate me. I just wanted to talk about the latest video that I made, and then I just decided randomly to write a title, debate me, So yeah. In this stream, I can't bring someone up on the live stream unless I shut the stream down and start a new one, which I think at this point I'm not going to do. But what I think we can do is, if you guys like the idea of debate, then we can have other people on the live stream, right? We can do a live stream. You know what? Let's do a poll about this, okay? Start a Q&A. Start a poll, right? Start a poll. Should we have an interactive live stream next time? And then it's like yes or no. Probably people will say yes. We definitely should do it. I haven't done it yet, but yeah. How many people do you think have been killed in Gaza? Well, the estimates are that it's around maybe like 55,000 people, something like that. And then how many of them are Hamas? Probably over 20,000. It's hard to say. Do Arab Israelis study Torah? No, of course not. Why would they? They're not Jews. I don't study Torah either, and I'm Jewish, but what do you think of Ahmed Shara? Yeah, so I got a bit of backlash for that one as well, calling him a dictator in my video, as if he's not a dictator. He obviously is. The question is what type of dictator he's going to be. I think it's going to be a problem because Syria is a very divided country, exactly in the problematic mold, which I talked about in the video. It has Sunni Arabs, Shias. It has Alawites, which is where the Assad family came from, Druze in the north. Used to have Jews, but doesn't have Jews anymore. Jews, Druze, right? Let's not get confused. And then the same tribal affiliations as well. So it's a very divided country. And what we're seeing is Ahmed Shara, who used to be an Al-Qaeda person, meaning he was a Sunni Muslim extremist. Because of that, other people in the country are worried. Christians, Druze, because they're afraid that there's going to be some type of like Sharia purging going on. And the Druze in the south, we've been asking Israel for protection. Now, I don't think Israel should get involved in this. But what I see is going to happen is either Ashara is going to have to really use force in order to put down potential revolt inside Syria by these minority groups, or it's going to fracture into another style of civil war. I think in the meanwhile, they've been able to be placated by being offered like a certain amount of autonomy, but I view a lot of problems that are going to happen in Syria. I can only hope that it works out, but I'm highly doubtful, again, because of the internal, as I said in the video, religious, sectarian, ethnic, and tribal divides in Syria. I don't see how it's going to work. I hope it does. I don't think it's going to work. Regarding Israel, Ashara has seemed like relatively positive in the sense that he doesn't want to be in conflict with Israel, maybe even wants to normalize relations with Israel. I don't know. So if that were to happen, it would be good. The problem with normalizing relations with an unstable country is that the government can be overthrown and then someone new can come in and just, I don't know, overturn whatever was decided by saying it was done illegally. Like this is the thing, for example, with the Golan Heights, which Israel is ostensibly occupying from Syria since 1967, and the peace model that people like is Israel gives land and gets peace, which never happens. Whenever Israel gives land, it doesn't get peace almost ever. So Israel needs to give up the Golan Heights to Syria to get peace with Syria. With Assad, this is what they used to say with Assad. So there was talk of like ceding part of the Golan to Syria, and that never went anywhere. But even if it had gone somewhere, okay, now Assad is gone. So people could say he was an illegitimate dictator, and we throw him out, and now we're back at war with Israel. Like there's no, or the country can just disintegrate, and then jihadists can take over southern Syria, like they did. Jabhat al-Nusra did, and any agreement you sign can mean nothing. So if you sign an agreement for an agreement, meaning just like peace for peace, right? Not that you have to give something up for peace, something big. Just, we want to make peace with you, let's sign a peace deal, then amazing. But if you have to make a massive concession to an unstable government that can be overthrown any day, or a country that can disintegrate any day, I don't know if that's such a smart idea. Okay, what else? Less tribalism during the Byzantine and Sassanid empires. Well, in general, that's an interesting point in general, that when you have an empire, then tribalism goes down and sectarian and religious violence goes down, because nobody can fight against an empire. So they're able to clamp it all down. And that's what happened under the Ottoman Empire, for example. I just throw in, maybe you already responded, but what do you think of the genocide? So I'll say again, as I said a million times, there's no genocide. I studied multiple genocides in my life, not just the Holocaust, but also I made 2 videos on my vlog, which you can watch. One from Armenia, where I talked about the Armenian genocide, and one from Rwanda, where I talked about the Rwandan genocide. So to give you an example, Armenia, in the Armenian genocide, the Turks, basically what they did was after locking up all the elites, and while Armenians were fighting for the Turks, right? So the Armenians were not a military threat to the Turks. They were fighting for the Turks. The men were all fighting in the First World War. They went into all the Armenian cities, places that they were. They just took the whole population, marched them off into the desert in Syria, and let them starve there. They killed 1.5 million people in around a year, 1.5 million people by intentionally starving them in the desert. They denied it to this day, but most people recognize the Armenian genocide. That was Armenian genocide. 1.5 million people killed in a year by deliberately marching them off into a desert to starve. Then you have what happened in Rwanda, which was Hutu versus Tutsi, ethnic warfare that I talked about in this video. The Hutus planned a genocide of the Tutsi after many generations where the Tutsi kind of like controlled the Hutus, so they had a grievance. But of course, that doesn't justify what they did. Ordered in about 1 million machetes from China, and then pre-planned the massacre. They put out a message on the radio which said, cut down the tall trees. That was a radio message informing all the Hutu militias to go out with their machetes and to start chopping up as many Hutus as they can find. Within a couple months, they killed close to 1 million people in the Rwanda genocide. So we're talking about a year and a half, which is about as long as the Israel-Gaza war is going on, right? 1.5 million people marched off to the desert to starve, 1 million people chopped up with machetes against populations that posed no threat and weren't part of any military action against the people who committed the genocide. Then, of course, we go to the Hamas, which is an Islamic fundamentalist group that says in their charter that they want to kill all the Jews around the world, that they want to annihilate the state of Israel. On October 7th, they invaded Israel and they massacred over 1,000 people. They took 250 people hostage back into Gaza. Every day since they did that action, they've had the option of returning the hostages and surrendering. So they have the option to end all the conflict, which the other groups that went through real genocides never had such an option. And in the disgusting war which they've waged from behind the civilian population, that they use fight without any military uniforms and use the population as a way to conceal themselves and make it impossible for Israel to target them. So in this very difficult war with all the tunnels that are underneath and so forth, Israel has killed like maybe 1.5, 2 civilians to every 1 Hamas combatant, which is a much better performance than what the British or the Americans did in Iraq, for example. So no, there is no genocide. I'll say it again and again. I think the people in Gaza are suffering terribly. I think the Netanyahu government is terrible. I think Netanyahu doesn't have a proper plan for after the war. Which is bad. I think if you want to continue the war in order to defeat Hamas, not just return the hostages, but defeat Hamas, then you at least have to present a viable plan for the day after and not stall and hint that you're going to do what your right-wing coalition partners want to do, which is to reoccupy Gaza, which was not in the discussion at all until October 7th and even at the beginning, but now it's starting to creep into the discussion. So in this sense, I think there's a lot of problems with what Israel is doing, but I think the IDF fights pretty well, like under the circumstances, and I know this, I haven't spoken to many people who've been there. So yeah, the genocide thing is just a very disgusting lie, and people who want to believe it will believe it, but what can you do? It's simply not true. Sean says their current charter no longer says that. Yeah, but they never abrogated the older charter. So they did the current charter for people like you, so you can suck it up, but while not abrogating the former charter. Also, their ideology hasn't changed. They're still a Sunni, Islamic fundamentalist, Muslim Brotherhood group that believes that all of Palestine belongs to them. Okay, so they came out with a new charter to supplement the older one, where they say they're willing to accept temporarily the Israeli state, which is still pathetic and not a sign of peace at all. They also organized the Palestine Day After conference a couple of years ago, where they talked about what Palestine will look like after it's liberated from the Zionists, which included expelling all the Jewish population and, trying everyone for war crimes and things like that. So I don't think this organization wants to live in peace with Israel, with all due respect. Serious question. What do you think the future of Hamas looks like, and what does the future of Palestine resistance look like? Well, what the future of Hamas looks like is a question. It depends on how the war proceeds. It looks like they have a chance of surviving because Israel is being more and more isolated on the international scene as people basically run out of, there's a limit to people that how much they can see war. You've been seeing war for a year and a half, people just don't want to see it anymore. So it's let's get to a ceasefire, which will allow Hamas to retain power. And there's pressure internally in Israel also to release the hostages at the expense of ending the war and basically letting Hamas maybe return to power. So there's a good chance they'll do that, in which case what will happen to their image? On the one hand, there'll be these great people who resisted Israel. On the other hand, inside Gaza, they have people who hate them because they basically led Gaza to complete destruction with this move. But, Hamas is just like a symptom. It's not the cause. The cause is, all the Palestinian population, whether they're Hamas or not, believe Israel is an illegitimate country and that the Jews don't belong in the region. The Jews should, quote, go back to where they came from, as people tell me in my live stream every other day. So I think ideologically on their side, they're always going to be opposed to Israel's existence. They're always going to support violent attacks against Israel, style October 7th. I think also on the Israeli side, there are people who don't want to compromise and who are motivated by religion, and they are represented by like the likes of Smotrich with the Religious Zionist Party. They have like 12 seats in parliament, which is about 10% of the population. So I think they're also wouldn't want to compromise with the Palestinians, to be fair, for religious reasons, because, you know, it's our land and the Bible, blah, 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 and all that crap, which people always kind of like claim all Israelis think, but that's not what all Israelis think, like, to that extent. But there are some people who do, you know. We love you, Alex, says Tal, the traveling clad. I was just saying, man, I would bring you on, but I can't because I didn't do the option of a, what do you call it? Someone joining the live stream, you know? No, similar to Hitler. Hi, Tali, someone says. Oh, damn. So, yeah, wait, what did I miss? What did I miss? Now that all the YouTubers crashing my streams, guys, check it out. We had Saluki earlier, and now we have Tal traveling clad. We had the two guys, the two vloggers who are fighting each other coming on my live stream to give me some love. What can I say? All right, what else? What else? Cultural question, do Tel Aviv Israelis get along with Jerusalem Israelis? I don't think there's like, that's really an issue, like Tel Aviv Israelis and Jerusalem Israelis. You have religious versus secular Israelis, or ultra-Orthodox and secular Israelis, where there's more of a rift, particularly with the ultra-Orthodox. There's not that much interaction between ultra-Orthodox Jews and less religious Jews, because the lifestyle is completely different. They're living in these, you know, like big families. They're not going into the military, so you don't have contact with there. Most of them are not going to university, so you don't have contact with them there. A lot of them are working in very specific things. It's just a population that you don't have a lot of contact with. I made videos from Bnei Brak and from Jerusalem on the ultra-Orthodox, and I got a lot of views also because people wanted to see that, you know. Muhammad Essam, Jerusalem Israelis religious, Tel Aviv Israelis secular, basically. Yeah, I mean, like, more chance that someone from Jerusalem will be religious, more chance someone from Tel Aviv will be secular. But there's also like some religious people in Israel, in Tel Aviv area. Bnei Brak is a completely ultra-Orthodox area that's just outside Tel Aviv. You have some very cool, like, Tel Avivi style secular people in Jerusalem, so that's not 100% correct, but yeah, as a generalization, it's not bad. Yeah, Dragon talks about the dhimmi status in the Ottoman Empire. That is indeed very, very true. All right, well, we did the poll about having actual guests on the live stream, where 78% said yes out of 41 votes, which of course makes sense. And I made a mistake by not doing that, so that's my bad. I promise I'm not running away from debate. I'm gonna have a debate with people at some point, like on the screen or whatever, or discussion, whatever you wanna call it, but yeah. Where's can Jews take revenge against Muslims for thousands of years of persecution in Iraq, Hebron, and Tunisia? No, I don't believe in revenge. I don't believe in revenge, and I don't think you have the right to take revenge just because something happened to your ancestors or even to your family, right? Like, revenge is not a form of, is not a viable, good way to go about your business. You need to do what is productive, right? All right, someone says, what do you think about the flotilla coming to Gaza, bringing humanitarian aid? Well, it reminds me of what happened with, wait, what happened to the flotilla? Where is the flotilla? Because there was something in 2009-10, which was a big deal, which was the Navi Marmara. It was sent from Turkey. Israelis demanded to inspect it. in order to make sure there weren't any weapons there. They refused in the flotilla, so it was boarded by, the flotilla was boarded by Israeli commandos, and one of them was assaulted. So they didn't allow the boat, which was like a humanitarian boat. They claimed, right? But if they're a humanitarian boat, why don't you allow yourself to be checked? This is what happened back in 2010, and that created like this big uproar, and that was the beginning of the downfall of relations between Israel and Turkey, because Israel like accosted the humanitarian boat, according to Turkey, right? So something like that maybe could happen here as well. Here, Israel warns it will stop aid flotilla reaching Gaza. This is what it says on BBC. Defense Minister Israel Katz said the 12-strong crew, which includes climate protester Greta Thunberg, the Doom Goblin, should turn back and that Israel will act against any attempt to breach the blockade. Yeah. Departed Sicily on Friday. Okay, well, yeah, I mean, the question is if it's like boarded by Israeli troops, if they'll do what they did back in 2010, which is try to attack the troops, and that will be a shit show, which will be bad for Israel, of course. Good for them, so they have every reason to do that provocation. Greta says they're unarmed. Well, they said they were unarmed last time. This was 15 years ago, and they were armed. I mean, they were armed with, I don't remember if they had guns, but they had knives and they had clubs. So they were armed in some way or another. They believe in nonviolence. Okay, well, I mean, look, it will be a question. If they accost the ship and they find aid there, like what will they do, Israel? Will they take the aid and then try to distribute it for in like the way that Israel is attempting to distribute the aid now so that Hamas doesn't get it? Do they just allow them to sail through? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Whatever happens, Israel is going to look bad as always, because you know that's what people want, so you get what you want. I don't see Greta getting confrontational with the IDF. She's more the pacifist type. Okay, we'll see. It's, of course, just like a stupid virtue signaling, yeah? But look, there's the issue of the aid, because Israel doesn't... What's happening is Hamas was siphoning off the aid, selling the extra aid for money that it used in order to continue fighting. So Israel wanted to stop that. So it put on the blockade for several months until to the point where there wasn't enough food left in Gaza, where actually like the population doesn't have any of the aid left, and then they started to put the aid back in. Now, will Israel say, like, make a statement and come and say, okay, we took the aid and we're again distributing it in, you know, the way that we wanted to distribute, the way we've been distributing it through these American companies, so to speak? I don't know. Are you still in Haifa? Is it safe and quiet? Yeah, it's safe and quiet because there's a ceasefire with Lebanon, so there was that period where Hezbollah were firing rockets all over the place. Like, for sure, this live stream would have been interrupted by a rocket siren during that period, but that's done. What do you make of the BBC? What is the best news outlet for you? BBC is pretty damn flawed, huh? What's the best news outlet? I don't know. I tried to take in several different ones, you know? But I'm not following the news as closely now. Remember, I used to work full-time as a journalist. I was covering this stuff every day. Whenever there was a conflict, you know, I did that for years, and then everything that was said, everything that was reported, every strike, like I used to follow very closely when I was doing that full-time job. Now I'm not on top of it. Like, I'm being honest. I'm not. You tell me this and this happened. I'm not on top of everything that's going on. But I know the general story of and the history and like what general concepts I know as good as anyone, but as far as like the nitty gritty of exactly the details of what this guy said yesterday or what happened 2 days ago, I don't always know. So yeah. Come on, guys, give some love. What about some donations for the channel, for the Patreon? I say again, and I said this, I have some really cool travel videos that I never published and that I will publish for Patreon-only members if one person signs up for my Patreon, for my paid Patreon. There's a free Patreon that you can sign up for, and then you just get like some of the content. And then there's the paid thing where you get exclusive content, and it supports my channel. Super chats aren't available, bro. Why? Why super chat's not available? She sent me a super chat. Anna, Swedish girl, sent me a super chat. So yeah, it's possible. It's possible. Oh wait, what's going on here? Community, leaderboard. This is weird. This live stream, like I'm getting all these things. I'm getting a community leaderboard. I'm getting, I can't see the messages now. What the hell is going on here? Oh wait, messages, okay. Yeah. Yeah, Tal, our friend Tal, the traveling clad, is taking a break from making reaction videos in order to go to Azerbaijan, is it? Or Armenia? Where are you now? Azerbaijan Azerbaijan, Armenia. That was an interesting experience. If people learn English, they can talk English. Yeah, but I also have American Jews in my family and stuff, so it's a bit different. I speak better English than a lot of Israelis, but most Israelis speak very good English. People here learn English and start learning, at a young age, and all the movies are they're not dubbed. For example, like you go, if you go to South America, for example, you see a film will be dubbed into Spanish. Here, the movie will be in English with Hebrew subtitles, or the TV show, or whatever it is, which everyone watches. So yeah, like most reasonably educated people here speak decent English. But if you go to the older people, particularly the ones who came from Muslim Arab countries, you'll see a lot of people who don't speak good English. Yeah, like if you go to Sderot, which is on the Gaza border, where you have a bunch of older people whose parents came from places like Iraq and whatever, they're not going to speak English at all, even. But yeah, in Tel Aviv, like everyone will speak English. So yeah. Chris Kunzler is one of the most annoying activists. I don't even know who that guy is. But I'm not into the whole too much into debating. It's just stupid. This debating and I gotcha kind of, this happened on Piers Morgan and whatever. It's part of the problem. It's a stupid culture. It's a stupid debating culture that I don't think it advances anything, doesn't do anything, That's why I prefer to still make content from Israel or other places, or make kind of interesting geopolitical videos like my previous one, rather than debating these idiots and then getting, in a cheerleading match where each person, cheerleads their side. Yeah, it can get me views and more money maybe, but it's just, I don't feel like it contributes anything, and we have so much of that. Like, do we really need more of that? Anthony, I feel that people should have more meaningful conversations and debates. It just makes people more set on their preconceived beliefs. But that's the point, because these aren't conversations. They are gotcha moments, yeah? It's like you want to put up the debate on your live stream or whatever, so then you can share it on Insta, share it in this, and you can come out the hero of like, oh, I debated a Palestinian and I defeated him, you know, or the other way around. And yeah, a lot of people are doing that, and I kind of feel like content doesn't really contribute much either. Yeah, I guess not. You know, we're all small cogs in the machine, I guess. But if I'm gonna make content, at least I want to make content that I believe in, you know, because I'm making the content, and I do believe in the content that I make, and I stand behind all the content that I've made. And I think, you know, being fair to myself, that I've made some pretty damn unique content out there, whether it's my visits to Egypt and Saudi, whether it's the type of analysis that I do in the latest video, the videos I made from Israel. I think I've done stuff that definitely adds something to the conversation that other people don't add, you know? Suf, where are you from, Suf, you? Believe in your content, otherwise I wouldn't have ever supported you. 100% honest. Yeah, I try. Wait, Suf says he comes from some colonial background. His country is a colonial background. Canada. Okay, fine. I don't think there's any connection between Israel and Canada, but if you want to make that connection, what can I say? Negev was never inhabited by Jews. Wrong. Wrong. Beersheba was. It's mentioned even in the Bible. Trump will annex Israel, maybe. I don't know. I see Trump is throwing around a lot of, I'm going to annex places. I'm going to annex Greenland. I'm going to annex Canada. I'm going to annex... so far, it's not going so well for him, is it? We need to make sure Israelis and Palestinians have a hopeful future. That's all that matters to me in this place. What do you mean this place? This discussion or the Middle East? Why don't you make yourself more clear? I don't think we should only, the only thing that matters is Israelis and the Palestinians, because there's actually a lot of people who are being killed and suffering and going through all kinds of things in other places that's completely ignored, yeah? This land, okay, yeah, sure. I agree. It's not in my power to achieve, yeah, but hopefully we achieve it someday. Do other people here get to watch so many commercials, like every 5th minute? Yeah, there's a setting where you can put on you can put on the commercials in the middle of the stream. Of course, if people supported me, like there was a time where people used to support me with super chats, but I guess I just lost that audience, then I could put in less commercials to, you know, fund this shit. It's not a very good living being a YouTuber, even though I'm not a full-time YouTuber at this point, but yeah. I'm a big fan of you, says Omar Al-Ashmawi. Cool. Where are you from? I watch all your videos. That's nice. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Can you please say what happened in the Old Habib synagogue? Old Habib synagogue? Never heard of that. What happened? What happened? Old Chaviv synagogue. Arson. Okay. So who do they say it is? All right, well, I don't know that incident. I'm gonna have to look into it. Not you, Swedish girl. You've already donated enough. I forbid you to donate me any more money to the channel in the next week, please. I was talking about the other people, but yeah. Egypt and Israel, says Omar Al-Ashmawi. Yeah. How old are you? 36. Dragon says, I like the video with the Messianic girl. Yeah, yeah, that was a good video with Oriel in Israel. Messianic Jew. We made a video in Jerusalem, walked around, had an interesting discussion, met some interesting people, showed some interesting stuff. Why is this in my frame? Get out of my frame! Ruining the perfect symmetry of my frame. Jeez. How can you do such a thing? Oh, Anthony sent a donation. Thank you, Anthony, you seem like a really insightful guy. You could have been your own insightful nomad, maybe someday. Learning Middle East, knows about the religious, ethnic, sectarian divisions, talks about finding common ground, asks interesting questions. Very cool guy. Where are you from, Anthony? Can you talk about the stress Israelis are under due to many people not liking them and how that plays a role in Israeli society? It doesn't play that big a role because like people in Israel most people are not on their Twitter all day seeing what other people are saying. And if they're on Instagram, then they're seeing like their internal Israeli stuff on Instagram. So it doesn't play that big a role. And also it turns out that a lot of these stuff that, you know, these threats against Israelis and obsession, a lot of it is online. That's where the activism world is. But there's a whole huge group of people out there who are not spending their time online and not spending their time on causes and are not invested in this. So when you're seeing it online, it seems bigger than it is. I know this because I've traveled places, right? I've traveled places after October 7th. I've said I'm from Israel to a gazillion people in a lot of different situations. And, you know, and I'm fine. So, you know, this like stress of, there is that, it's getting a bit bigger now post October 7th of, okay, you're going abroad to a place, even in Europe, where there's a lot of anger against Israel. There's a lot of Muslim communities also who might be in some way affiliated with like Hamas or something. Like, you don't know, right? There's travel warnings coming out sometimes from the ministry of whatever, saying you need to be careful, like levels of danger going to various places. I went to all the countries that had the highest travel warnings all the time, yeah? But that's me. But I'm just saying that, okay, like, there's still Israelis who are flying to Greece, I saw them when I was in Sicily, flying to London, and, you know, doing their thing. And in most places, it's fine, you know? I would say more of the stress is internally in Israel because we have the conflict that's going on. We have the issue with the hostages. We had all the rocket attacks earlier in the war. That's stopped now. And also just like uncertainty about the future and what's going to happen. A lot of people are very concerned about, you know, what's going to be the future of Israel in that sense. But I don't think that people are stressed because, oh, there's people in the world who don't like us. Also, historically, a lot of people hated the Jews all the time. It's kind of like a thing. We just embrace it and that's it, okay? They don't like you. That's their problem, not your problem, you know? I actually would like it if Israelis were a little more aware of what's going on outside. And, you know, just to kind of be aware of the bearings. I feel like some people are just willfully ignorant on this. They're just, you know, they don't want to, they're not invested in it, and then, you know, they travel abroad and then, oh my God, somebody treated me badly, because they're just not aware of all this hysteria that's going on online, abroad concerning the conflict. It's not in their, they're not dealing with it, you know, they're not engaged in it, which is a good thing in a way. Like, you're not supposed to be obsessed with what other people are saying and thinking about you. You should be maybe engaged in what's going on in your own country and what needs to be done. But like, oh no, people don't like me on Twitter. It's like, okay. So that's what I would say about that. Sean, earlier means nothing, dude. Palestinians feel they originate from Canaanites, so what? End of the day, you have two people with different affiliations and identities. Both should compromise. I mean, yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, I don't think the Palestinians are Canaanites, but You're right, we're different groups. They're Arabs and mostly Muslim with some Christians. We're Jews, we're different. And we each need to be able to live peacefully in our own territory, for sure. That's the correct attitude, the attitude that places the focus on the present. You know, we can use the past, we can remember the past, but it needs to be used for a constructive vision. And that's kind of a problem that I think some of us all have in this conflict. I would say from the Palestinian side, like they have essentially an ethos in which the past is being destructive for them. So the ethos is we lived in this peaceful, beautiful land called Palestine. All of us lived peacefully together. There were no problems. And then the Zionists came out of nowhere and stole our land, even though they have no connection to the land. And now we're fighting to get it back. And you know, the main thing that we need to get back is the right of return, right? The descendants of the refugees from '48 war, they need to go back to Palestine, right, and reclaim their houses. And then you know, Israel will disappear, and then the conflict then justice will be served, right? But that means destroying Israel. I mean, I'm not getting into how inaccurate that narrative is on many levels, but I'm saying that's the vision. And that's not a vision focused on present. It's not focused on, okay, I'm in Ramallah now. We can build Ramallah to be the high-tech center of the Middle East because we have all these donations and foreign people who are coming here and who are interested. And there's a scene there, and you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to do that. No, like these people, they're refugees in the refugee camp, and they're going to return to Lud, you know. That's a destructive vision. It's a vision not based on trying to improve your present based on the circumstances. You know, a more accurate appraisal of history. Instead, it's an attempt to undo something that happened in history. You know, I mean, I can't start unpacking the whole Israeli-Palestinian conflict here. I don't want to get into that too much about what the claims are. But I can just say, in the end of the day, it's an impossible vision to realize without endless war. Like you're not using the past in a way that can help you have a constructive vision. You're using the past in a destructive way, I would say. Omar Al-Ashmin, can we be friends? Yeah, we're all friends here in the discussion. We are all friends. Behi says, unfortunately, our country donates to people in Gaza and made us poor and even disconnected us to the world, so excuse us for donating. I don't know where you're from that you're saying that, but that's interesting. Why don't you go live in your Poland state? See, this is the usual, I just literally addressed that point. I can't take that crap anymore. I've never lived in Poland. I don't speak Polish. I'm watching from Canada, says Rao. Thank you. Not one, so one state, two states, or confederation. Something like two states, yeah. That's the right model, I think. Do you know Eden Ben Zaken? Yeah, she's a singer. Please excuse us Iranian for not donating. Why would an Iranian donate? Iranian's got its own problems. Why would you be donating to, I don't know, Gaza, you know? Or city-states. City-states would be like the Mordechai Kedar model, who's a professor who like very much pushes what I talked about in the latest video, which is the idea that Palestinian society is divided by chamulas, by tribes, and therefore the Palestinian state is destined to be unstable. That's what he claims, right? So he says that the West Bank should be city-states based around the tribes, kind of like the UAE format, you know? Which is, I think, an interesting idea. I don't think, though, the Palestinian supporters will ever agree to that, you know? Kedal is so dumb on this. Why? If you may elaborate on that. How many people in Israel that support your ideas? What ideas? Can you be more specific? I have a lot of ideas. What do you think about the Ask Project YouTube channel? Very good channel. I think it gives you a lot of insight to what actual ordinary people think. Valuable channel, I think. I don't know if you know this, but Iranians are the biggest supporters of Israel in the Middle East. Even Netanyahu is making videos. I mean, yeah, like a lot of Iranians are sympathetic to Israel. I know. I've met a lot of Iranians abroad, expats living abroad. When I was in Armenia for the first time, I met Iranians who are actually living in Iran because it borders Armenia and they travel there. And, you know, I always got along well with Iranians. I love Iranians. I've always got, whenever I met, most of the time I meet Iranians, I get along with them very well. I said always because there was one case where I met an Iranian in Uganda and she was working for the UN and stuff. So she was like a government official and she was very, very anti-Israel. And we kind of had a bad discussion, an argument, you know, but that was like one case. And the 10 other times I met Iranians, they became my friends like in 2 seconds. And we had great conversation and wishing the best for each other, you know, and I wish the best for Iran. I don't think under the Islamic Republic, under Ayatollah, they have a good future, and I wish they would stop wasting their resources on funding proxies that fight Israel. So, you know, my issues with their government, not with the people. And yeah, I wish the people the best, you know. I want to know how everything is going on in Israel. It's going fine, you know. It's life goes on. The hostage thing is a big deal, and it's kind of something that, and the war and the hostages that's ongoing, and people want a resolution to the issue. We're going to have elections in Israel in about 1 year and 4 months, like in November, 1 year, 5 months, November 2026. So that's going to rile up the country a lot, especially if things are still popping off in Gaza. You know, as if the Israel can change direction, you know, not be under, you know, change direction from the direction Netanyahu has been leading us in the last 15 years. What role does authoritarianism play in conflict? Which conflict? Yishal Koch Havel. Look, we have Oliel in Israel. Guys, I'm gonna do, I am the person who brings together all the vloggers. We had all the Israeli vloggers we had on today in this live stream. We had Saluki, we had Traveling Klat, and now we have Oliel in Israel. They've all come. Everybody's coming to show me love. Look at that. What did I get? Never had all the people on my live stream all coming in one day, huh? So yeah. Very, very cool. You should check out all of their channels. They all have very interesting channels. Sean says, you inspired me, Oliel, to listen to the New Testament, and it's weird. Okay. Yeah. I definitely need to do, I don't know how many Christians we have in the chat, but I definitely need to do my reading up on the New Testament at some point. Not that I expect to be converted, because I'm not, you know, I'm not that big a God believer and not a Jesus believer, but just as a general education thing, you know, for sure. I also did some Quran reading back in the day. I didn't really read through the whole thing, but I did some. So, and I did some New Testament reading at one point. So I need to do those things just to broaden my understanding of religious spiritual text, you know? Omar Al-Ashmawi, I love Yuval Rafael. Oh, okay. Yeah, she did a good number there in Eurovision, got second place. Yeah, I mean, the judges were like, oh my God, we can't let this Israeli girl win Eurovision. It's going to be a shit show next year. They were like, please don't let her win. Please don't let her win. Yeah. I wish one day you can visit Iran and we can visit Israel. Yeah, I hope so. No, I would love to visit Iran. It's one of the countries that fascinate me the most. The only way it can happen is if the Islamic Republic is overthrown, right? So if there's a real revolution in Iran, then we can go back to having relations like we had before 79, right, between Israel and Iran. Then Israel and Iran had normal relations. Israel imported their oil from Iran. So it's something that could maybe happen in my lifetime, but at the moment it still looks far away. I did make that video in Azerbaijan called Israeli on the Border, on the Road to Iran, where I went to the border between Azerbaijan and Iran. So that's the closest I've ever been to Iran. And it was exciting to think that I'm so close, but yeah, wasn't able to enter. Actually got arrested on the border by the Azerbaijani secret police, which is a whole story in itself. Has left me with nightmares from Azerbaijan. Yeah. Yeah, I hope to visit one day. Hope to visit. I hope the circumstances allow me to visit. You went to Saudi. I still can't believe it. Yeah, Saudi is possible. Was possible. Iran's not possible. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, probably Iran is more interesting. Well, I don't know. Well, they're both interesting. Yeah, they're both interesting. I'm happy I went to Saudi. It was interesting, eye-opening in many ways. And I hope to go to Iran as well someday. Hopefully it will happen in my lifetime. Someone says, Omar, Ana Amtak. Amtak. I don't know what that means. The problem is most people in Israel are not peaceful like you. I disagree. I think I'm a pretty average person here. There's a lot of people like me, you know. I don't think I'm so rare here. Have you seen Nas Daily Latest AI video? It's wild. Yeah, well, the AI videos are crazy. There's a really funny video of people in the Bible walking around with selfies and or like with GoPros and updating their audience about what they're doing. So there's a video of Moses and Aaron, and he's like walking around like I do in my vlogs. He's like, okay guys, you know, we're about to enter the palace here in Thebes to talk to the Pharaoh. Hopefully he's gonna let our people go. So we're gonna see how it goes. And then they come out and they're like, yeah, so he wasn't very receptive. He said, F off, I'm not letting you go. So yeah, let's see what happens. And then both of them, they're like, Pharaoh, this is your last chance. Let the people go, or it's gonna be plague and things like that. And then Aaron's like, hashtag, let my people go, you know? And then it's like, all right, guys, we're racing to the sea because the chariots are chasing us. And it was just hilarious. It was so well made. I mean, like what you can make with AI is, first of all, just the idea of like blogging in biblical times is just hilarious, right? You know. But I think AI, I'm probably gonna at some point transition to making only AI content just because it's gonna be easier. You know, why go travel off places, spend so much money in this, unless you're really enjoying the travels. But if you're tired of traveling, I mean, you can just make insane travel videos or any videos with AI. Have I been to Saudi? Yeah, I was in Saudi. I made 4 videos from Saudi Arabia. You can check them out. Yahweh versus Baal, face off in Karma. Yeah, the options are endless. Like the options are just endless. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. You know, I imagine making a video like, yeah, we're crossing the Bering Strait, guys. You know, like these Eskimos going from Russia into the U.S. through the. I don't know. There's so many things you can do. You can be like Masada or something. We're being besieged by the Romans. We're trying to hold out. Like a year or 2 of siege. We're running out of food. Like you can do every freaking historical event you can do like as a blogger now with AI. Alec, are you tired of traveling? No, I could do some traveling, but you know, I think it's just too difficult to be a travel vlogger. I think the competition's too stiff. I think the other options are. You know, the field's saturated. Everything's been done. People are just repeating the same stuff. They're making the same video. Oh, poorest neighborhood, most dangerous neighborhood in this country, that country. Scams in India. Scams in this. A girl takes me here, a girl takes me there. I just feel like there isn't that much interesting stuff to do anymore. And if you do something kind of original, it doesn't necessarily do well. So again, I want to do content that I believe in. If I'm down that I have to pump out a video every 2 days to survive, as I was doing in Africa every 3 days, and it can be just not necessarily even a video I really want to make, I feel like it's not worth it for me. So I'm going to keep making videos from Israel. I'm going to do some traveling to make videos on specific subjects that I want. And I'm going to make these analytical videos probably as well. And I think all of those things are relevant to my audience. Don't travel to Arab countries. The audacity to go there while being part of the occupation in Palestine is crazy. Well, I disagree. I think this is one of the big problems concerning Israel generally in the world, is that no other country is such a direct line drawn between every single individual person from that country and a very complex geopolitical issue. Even if you think Israel is in the wrong. You know, like I've never seen in all my travels, I've never seen a Chinese person get berated by some rando in the hostel. Like, you guys are doing this and this to the Uyghurs. You guys are dictatorship, or a Syrian guy. Like, it never happens. Only with Israel, every person is individually responsible for every single thing that happens, with zero sympathy for our situation. You know, we were surrounded by people who want to kill us. For fuck's sake. And that's just like, oh, well, it's understandable because you're so whatever. You know, nobody seems to take it seriously. And then if you mention it, then you're playing the victim card, you know? So, yeah, that's exactly the point of my videos. I challenge that concept of how dare you as a person from Israel ever set foot in these places. Yeah, I challenge that concept in my video and I see how people react. A lot of people react, and most people react negatively, which I think shows more on them than on me. And some people react positively, and that's kind of the point of the video. So yeah, a lot of people say, oh, you never come here, we never want to see you, you this, that. Fine. That's their right to do that, but I think it says something about the tolerance of their society, that a person who comes to do a vlog about them and takes the risk to do it and tries to show their culture in a positive light despite all the issues, and you know, they react like that, I think it shows something about them, something not good. Oh, I'm Kenyan. What do you think of this country as an outsider? Yeah, Kenya was cool. It's easy to get around. People speak English. There's a lot of very developed areas and some not so much. In Nairobi, for example. I was also on the East Coast. There was some interesting Islamic history there, like some of the first, like one of the oldest mosques in Africa or in Kenya that I visited and stuff like that. Like Mombasa has an interesting history. And Kenyans are very nice. So it was all good. The problem is my audience wasn't interested in it because my audience was too Middle East focused. And you know, when I said, okay, let's see what happens if we transition a bit to Africa, and yeah, I did some videos that did okay. But yeah, in the end of the day, Africa didn't work for me so much from just a perspective of what worked for my channel. Your views on the India-Pakistan 4-day war, it's called, who emerged victorious and who faced defeat. I wasn't covering that closely. I know that Pakistan did a terror attack in India. India responded very strongly, which I think is perfectly, if you commit like a big attack against civilians, like what Hamas did in Israel, like what Pakistan did in India, you can't afterwards cry on the response. I do know also that they did a bunch of stuff inside India, like with the Muslim population there, and I don't know all the details, so I need to know more, because you don't necessarily want to take it out on regular people to that extent. So you're saying I'm going to support occupation of Palestine, people have to respect you for it. I didn't say that. First of all, this term occupation of Palestine is very vague. What do you mean exactly? What do you mean by occupation, and what do you mean by Palestine? Be more specific. Because for most people, when they say occupying Palestine, they mean the whole land is Palestine, right? So every city, I'm in Haifa right now. Haifa's Palestine. It's Haifa, Palestine. Especially Haifa, because Haifa had a big Arab population, right? So, you know. Israel's existence is occupying Palestine. So you're existing as a state of Israel, you're occupying Palestine? No. So I say F you, okay. Well, what am I supposed to do about that? So yeah, I mean, it's just a symptom of not recognizing Israel, not recognizing any type of Jewish self-determination, sovereignty in any part of the land. And that means that you're the problem, not me. Palestine is a region and it includes river to sea. Okay, well, if you say that, then you means everything that encompasses Israel and the Palestinian areas. By the way, Palestine as river to the sea is actually not accurate, because if the term Palestine was used as a geographic region, right, not as a nation, and it was never used to define a nation, it was only used as a geographic area. When Palestine was written as a geographic area in, for example, European books, when they started to take interest again in that area of the world and granted access by the Ottomans and so forth, books written in the 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, when they write down Palestine as a region, it's actually not river to sea. It's not river to sea. It includes areas that are east of the river in what is now Jordan, what was Transjordan, and areas that are inside Lebanon and Syria. Most of them. So if you're talking about partitioning Palestine between Arabs and Jews, you can say it's already been partitioned. But that's a different thing. But as far as Palestine, Syria, Palestina, okay, fine. But it's not, I'm not talking about Syria, Palestina. I'm talking about Palestine as a geographic region, right? A term used very often by Europeans, because the Ottomans didn't have a district called Palestine, right? The Ottomans had vilayets. They had vilayets of Beirut and Damascus and Mustafarat of Jerusalem and vilayet of, they didn't have a territory called Palestine in their own administrative divisions at all, which is worth noting. Palestine as not geographic, administrative entity only became a thing under the British, right, with the British mandate of Palestine. So that's the river to the sea Palestine. It's the British mandate map that the Palestinians wave as historical Palestine, right? Borders just drawn by a colonial power that were all created in the 20th century. The border between Britain and Egypt and the Ottoman Empire is now the border between Israel and Egypt, right? That was signed in 1907. Then 1922, they did the border with the French at the north, based on whatever, and then the east border was cutting off Transjordan. That was also done in the 20s. So it's all the British, the border, the map, the historical Palestine. It's British created. It's nonsense. If you're talking about what was written before in the books, in the Western books about Palestine, was usually included parts that are east of the river and parts that are in Syria and in Lebanon. And some parts of what is the Negev Desert actually was not included in that map. You know, so it's a completely, the borders you see now is just manufactured borders. There's zero historical integrity to them, I think. Yeah. But of course, they'll say Palestine encompasses, Palestine usually is where the Jews are. Yeah? So in 1964, when the West Bank and Jordan was controlled by Egypt, the West Bank and Gaza was controlled by Jordan and Egypt, then, occupied Palestine was where Israel was, right? It didn't include Ramallah. Ramallah was not occupied Palestine because it was under the control of Jordan. But then when Israel captured that area in the 6-Day War, all of a sudden they changed it, right? The map of Palestine morphs based on where the state of Israel is, where the Jewish self-determination is. If there's Jewish self-determination, it needs to be torn down. That becomes Palestine. So if you look at the maps, historically, Palestine as a geographic region included Syria, Lebanon, parts of Transjordan, like half of it was outside what is currently Israel. But now nobody calls that Palestine, liberating Palestine, because it's not relevant. It's not controlled by the Jews. The goal is to deny Jewish self-determination. So you end the occupation. The occupation currently is all of the land where the Jews are self-determined. That's the occupation that needs to be ended. Israel needs to be ended. That's what they want. Why I'm seeing Colgate ad on your video? Because I have ad. What do you think of Greater Israel? Is that also Judea? I don't know. No, there's Greater Israel and there's Israel complete. Like Eretz Yisrael Shlema, like full Israel with the Judea Samaria. Greater Israel is the Greater Israel is this nonsense of Euphrates to the Nile, right? So the conspiracy theorists claim that the two blue lines on the Israeli flag don't represent the talit, which is a religious garment, but it represents Euphrates to the Nile, and Israel wants to expand from the Euphrates to the Nile. But this is just stupidity. We barely have enough people to populate this tiny country. Like literally half the Galil and the Negev is run by Arabs at this point anyway. So like the idea that Israel would stretch to the Euphrates is just insanity. You getting tired, Israel? Yeah. Alec, yeah, I'm getting too tired. Smotrich says Damascus belongs to Israel. Yeah, well, Smotrich is a religious fanatic. And he represents a certain group in Israel who are religious, some of whom are religious fanatics. He didn't say that Damascus belongs to Israel. He said that in some biblical whatever, it prophesies that Jerusalem would spread all the way to Damascus or something like that. So he was citing something. But in the end of the day, I agree that Smotrich is a dangerous extremist. I just don't think he represents all of Israel or even close to that. You know? Now, someone here asked something interesting that I wanted to... Muhammad Amin says, oh, Muhammad Amin, I kind of remember you from previous live streams. Perhaps you could dedicate one of the episodes to the historical coexistence characterized by tolerance, brotherhood, and harmony between Jews and Muslims in the Kingdom of Morocco. I made such an episode. I made an episode called The Jewish Experience in Marrakesh Surprised Me with Amazigh Muslim Moroccan named Wadia, who's kind of an activist also. He's got an Instagram, he's been to Israel a few times. Exactly on that subject, and you should check it out. The problem is that, whenever I make a video about Jewish-Muslim coexistence, then I get a lot of Muslims come and say, look, you guys lived so well in Muslim countries, and then Israel was created, and you did this and this to the Palestinians. That's what they always do, overwhelmingly. Some people are appreciative, and then they're like, okay. But it doesn't seem to have the effect that I want it to have, which is to foster understanding and coexistence. My video is used as a tool to attack Israel, right? Because they keep saying, look, we treated the Jews so well, and the Jews do this and this to the Palestinians. And this is, again, like, I can't stress enough that I like to highlight positive things, but that doesn't mean that Jews live these wonderful lives all these centuries under in Muslim empires. That's not true. Like Jews were dhimmis, second-class citizens, suffered a lot of persecutions. There were some positive things which I try to highlight, but they were, in the end of the day, subjects of Muslim empires and not free, self-determined people like they are in Israel. And you can't, to go and say, oh, look, why don't you go back to being that? It's just absurd. Not to mention the fact that we have coexistence in Israel as well. We have Jews and Muslims who live together, which I also document on my channel, which people don't conveniently ignore. Instead, they create this caricature of, as if every Muslim walking around in the street in Israel is some oppressed person, which is simply not true. The same like any minority in the world in the past. Well, I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if all minorities in the world were treated as, had this specific dhimmi status the way they had in the Muslim world. But whatever, fine. Like, I agree, minorities were oppressed in lots of places around the world. That's why you can't tell a person who lives as a self-determined person in a nation state that they should just return to being a minority. That's where they belong. Why should someone accept that, and why is that fair? But yeah. All right, guys, this chat's been going on a long time. I'll say again, I really hope that one person joins the Patreon as a consistent contributor so we can get some content up on Patreon, because I'm using that as a bait. Don't you guys want to see an insightful nomad travel video that's never been put up before? But yeah. So yeah, you guys can join my Patreon. You can share my video with other people if you don't want to contribute financially. That's also really appreciated because, you know, I'm in a point in my life. I'm back in Israel. I'm going to be doing some more traveling, but not like before. And like how much the channel, how much content I'm going to create, how many live streams I do, how much like I can remain true to my content and not like grift, as I said I don't want to do, and I can grift and make more money, depends on the support that I get from you guys. I'm not talking about you, Swedish girl Anna. You're my biggest supporter. You've done 100 times more than you've given me. You've supported me financially. You've shared my videos, and like this, you're not the person I'm talking about here. I'm just talking about general. If people can support me, then I can make more impactful content. That's it. That's the name of the game here. You know? Thank you very much, someone says here. Yeah. And also shout out to Anthony. You sent a couple contributions, and that's why I answered your questions in depth, and you asked some great questions. So that shout out to you as a contributor as well. I don't think he's in the chat anymore, but he also sent a super chat. We're gonna end the poll, which says, should we have an interactive live stream next time? And 79% said yes. So yeah. She says, Palestine will be free, you Zionist. Okay, fine. Good luck with that. Omar says, Toda Rabba, Tachaim Shali. You're all right, Toda Rabba. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Concurrent viewers, 45. Why wasn't I even looking at how many concurrent viewers I have? Oh, I see it up here. What's that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you. Maybe do some more live streams in the future. That was a challenging one. Whoa, we got through a lot. Yeah. Alrighty. Okay, guys. Okay. Good night. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.